Sharks.
Give it up for Sai, everybody!
Alright, so hello, my name is Sai Lamore. I know you guys, most of you know me. So my senior project I did this year was about teaching and being a teacher and what it's like to manage a classroom, because I feel like I'll use those skills a lot in my major in social work, creating a positive environment. And I figure what better way to show my teaching skills and what I've learned from managing some of my own classes and volunteering than to teach a class of my own on something I'm passionate about, which doubled as my zoology final project about sharks, because I love them a lot and they're sweet sea puppies and they're probably my favorite creatures. So here's my shark seminar. So just a basic of what we'll go over is some shark background information, sharks in the ecosystem, humans and sharks, shark fin soup, shark attack misconceptions, what can you do to help save sharks, and then some links for further exploration, and just my sources. So sharks are a unique apex predator that few people I feel like really understand the complexities of. So sharks are a vital part of the ecosystem and not as violent or dangerous as they're made out to be. Ooh, go back, wait. I double clicked. So some shark background information that we learned in zoology. So they're vertebrates, which I didn't know. The vertebrates, their spine is not made out of bone. They're cartilaginous fish. So they do have some kind of backbone. So sharks are evolutionary masterpieces with a closed circulatory system, which is new. We haven't seen in arthropods. Two-chambered heart and advanced stomachs. So unlike other fish, they do not have a swim bladder, which is a special organ. It's an air sac in the middle that allows them to float up like fish do. They like to hang out on the bottom, and some sharks use this to burrow under the stand, pop out, and eat fish as they hide as predators. So their skin has a special thing called denticles, which are teeth-like structures all along their body, which is really weird. Which is instead of scales. So most fish have scales. Sharks look smooth, but they're covered in denticles. So they're apex predators. They've got many rows of teeth, and they fall out all the time. The average shark loses up to 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. So they do see color and black and white with advanced eyes. They've got complex brains and complex sensory systems, and they're very smart. So here's a sample of some shark vertebra. That's all cartilage, like the stuff you have in your nose and your ears. And it makes up the entirety of their body system. That's how they're supported. So sharks in the ecosystem. Sharks are vital to ocean systems. I read a special article about shark researcher Neil Hammerschlag and wildlife naturalist Chris Fellows. And they did some research on great white sharks in South Africa. They found that the decline of great whites, which sort of happens sporadically, but would mimic overfishing or pollution in modern times. So great whites in 2017 and 2018, a neighboring shark, the seven gill, which is the only shark with 7 gills, invaded the seal island and reproduced rapidly, as well as ate all of the prey that was the natural prey of the great whites. So even if we're only fishing out one shark species, or if one shark species goes away, there's others that will become invasive species, which means that they take over the land that they shouldn't have and become a part of the ecosystem that wasn't meant to be, and destroy even parts that we didn't intend to be destroyed by just targeting one kind of shark. Sharks actually help prevent climate change. So because sharks are apex predators, they eat a lot of small prey, except for bottom feeders like whale sharks. Because they eat so much prey, there's less like respirating fish in the ocean. So one big shark respirates way less than if there was thousands of fish that it would have eaten in its lifetime, all respirating at once. So you're actually lowering the CO2 levels by having more sharks come around. It's like spiders and mosquitoes. If you have more spiders, you're bit by mosquitoes less. If you have more sharks, there's going to be less fish to breathe up all of the oxygen that our beautiful coral reefs, which are also dying, are producing for us. So here's a whale shark. This is a bottom feeder. I call them the Roombas of the sea. They like to hang out, again, with that no swim bladder towards the bottom and just suck up whatever plankton they can. Completely non-harmless, and they're shaped like a tube.
I saw one of those ones.
They're beautiful. They're called a whale shark because they're huge. They're like 90 feet long.
It's like a sleeping bag.
He's my sleeping bag, Roomba love of my life. So humans and sharks. So A lot of people, even for sport, just do catch and release shark fishing, which is really bad. So this is actually very dangerous for sharks' well-beings. So some scientists from both the University of Miami Abbess Center for Ecosystem Science and Policy and the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science conducted research on the stress catch and release fishing has on different shark species. So they tested the blood and response systems of all the sharks and found consistent conclusive evidence that fishing line fight. When they first pull them up, they're like fighting around. They're on land for a while, so it's hard for them to breathe, and then finally they're cut off. That stress affects them similarly to human stress response after vigorous exercise, which we can handle vigorous exercise, but sharks can't. So this amount of stress is actually fatal in them. And a lot of times, fishermen will not hook a shark and then go into their mouth to take the hook out. They just cut off the line. And shark hooks can be embedded in all sorts of vital organs. If stuck in their mouth for too long, it gets infected. It hurts the inside of the shark. There's a hole in there. There's seawater's coming in that they can't control. Don't catch and release sharks, even if you're letting them go. The stress you have on them is immeasurable. Especially, it affects different breeds of sharks differently. Hammerhead sharks die most often and most likely after being catch and released, which is super sad. This is a giant great white shark. He's beautiful. Look how chunky he is. I have a YouTube video for you.
Yeah, I never liked to touch her. And then one day she showed up with a wire coming out of her mouth. She actually accepted me to pet her. I was like, I'm going in. So I opened and went in, grabbed the hook. That day she's become the shark that wants to be touched the most. When I started with hooks, other sharks start showing up with hooks. I've become obsessed with them. I do believe the community and the shark dentist is in. The shark would come into my stomach and just sit there, and I just pet her. You can feel the jaw open and it closes on your lap, which is one of the most beautiful things to feel. And what I try to make people understand is sharks are not a machine, they're not a monster. This is a living, feeling creature.
So that's what I wanted to show you. They're really sweet. So there's a lot of sharks that are catch and release and they got those terrible hooks. And then there's sweet people. You can pet them, you can get close to them. Sea puppies. They're puppies of the sea. They just happen to be sharp sea puppies. If you don't aggravate them, they don't bother you. So she's doing really sweet work. And no matter how much we try to remove hooks, there's always going to be fishers that are fishing faster than we are removing hooks in this very important endangered species. So the next big threat to sharks is shark fin soup. So shark finning is the process of removing a live shark's fin for food. They don't even humanely kill the shark or kill the shark in any way. They bring them out live, the stress on land, remove their dorsal fin, and then put them back in the water, which causes a slow and painful death from bleeding out, which is not good. So the University of Hong Kong released an article about the dangers of extinction that come with finning. In 60 years, the global number of sharks caught has more than doubled. 60% of shark species are affected and endangered. Research in Hong Kong from 2017 indicated that 33% of shark fins for soup at markets are from the threatened list. A lot of shark fishing is not only unsustainable, but illegal and unethical. And this is a really prominent issue in Asia where shark fin soup is a traditional dish. And the use of this dish is like really revered as a delicacy amongst like older generations who are more traditional. But there is hope when the younger generations are like, hey, maybe if this traditional food is killing the sharks, then maybe we shouldn't eat it as much or if at all. And it's a really hard thing to mandate and take care of because a lot of the police that regard like illegal fishing of endangered species are not going to take the time to genetically test which of those 33% of shark fins for soup are the threatened list. So the best way, when the police are out of their hands, the best and only way to stop shark fin soup and finning of sharks is to just not eat shark fin soup at all and help promote laws that would places. So not only is shark fin soup hurting the sharks and the environment, shark fins and shark meat have high levels of neurotoxins related to Alzheimer's disease. Because the sharks eat so many fish, there's a high amount of mercury in them, which is also caused by pollution. There's pollution in the water. The fish eat other fish and are in the water all the time. They get high levels of mercury. Sharks eat a bunch of fish. That gives them a lot of neurotoxins. So eating shark is bad for all parties involved. The University of Miami scientists took tissue samples from mussels and fins of 10 shark species from different oceans, and they all had high levels of the toxins mercury and methylaminoalanine, BMMA. So yeah, no shark fin soup. It's terrible. You're hurting the creatures and also yourself. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was, besides conservation and how important they are, is some shark attack misconceptions. So sharks pose like little threat to humans. They really only want to live. Sharks are humans are the most dangerous creatures on the planet, and we kill millions of sharks every year. So shark attacks are extremely rare and are just bites. There's never full digestion fatalities, and I don't think there's ever been a full digestion fatality. Even cows that killed double the amount of people sharks did in Australia from 2000 to 2010. So your chances, with statistics, your chances of winning the lottery are higher than being bit by a shark. So media tends to hyper-focus on sharks attacks because they're violent and they're really fun to sensationalize, and people like to dramatize them and fuss over them. But shark attacks are super uncommon. They happen to be on the rise, but that's only because more people are going in the ocean. The same problem with overpopulation. We're going into areas that have not ever been populated before because there's so much of us. We're infringing on the spaces that are supposed to be natural, and that's the only reason there are more shark attacks recently. But on top of that, even with more shark attacks, there are more bites and fewer fatalities. Sharks are starting to learn that humans are gross. So currently the chances are 3.5 bites per million people. And on top of that, the researchers are currently tagging and doing acoustic tracking that are helping understand and prevent shark attacks. So education is the best tool we have to help sharks and be safe ourselves. Sharks don't like the taste of human meat. They just take a bite and they're like, gross, this isn't a seal, this isn't what I wanted. They're excellent predators. If they liked human meat, you'd see a lot more fatalities. Once in a while, a surfer is attacked because a surfboard looks like a seal. So they're just confused, take a bite out of you, they're like, no thanks. I've seen a lot of amazing videos where they like bite the ends of boats because boats are white and seal shaped, and they're like, this is a boat. And they just spit it back out. So they are really smart. They're smart and they communicate. They're just confused when we look like their food. Shark attacks happen mostly in 4 feet deep water, which is out where surfers are. They don't like large groups of people. They're scared by us. We like to kill them, understandably. So nobody towards the shore is safe at the beaches. If you use your common sense, you don't go out too deep, you will not be attacked by a shark. And a lot of people are killing sharks in the areas where shark attacks are, and that's really ineffective because they tagged a couple of sharks, and sharks move up to 1,000 miles a day in just migration, and they rarely stay in the same place except for to breed. So if a shark attacks you in one area, and there was a law in Hawaii where they were to kill tiger sharks on site in an area where a tiger shark attack happened, which is ridiculous because the shark that did attack is long gone. The sharks are constantly migrating through there, and you will teach them no lessons by systematically killing them where they're supposed to be. Look how cute he is. He'd never want to hurt you.
He's such a good boy.
Okay, so what can you do? This has a positive, upbeat note at the end. What can you do to help? So humans are more dangerous to sharks than they are to us. Like I said, we kill 100 million sharks a year for meat and fins, and also oils for cosmetics. So people overfish the shark's prey as well. So we're really not doing them good. We're killing the sharks themselves, and if they're not killing them directly, we're like, well, you don't have anything to eat because we're overfishing everything. So make sure you've got sustainable sources from the fish that you eat. The best way to prevent finning of sharks is to avoid eating shark altogether and start supporting shark fin trades. Like I said, because the police are over their head and enforcing alternatives. So the only steadfast option at this point with the rapid decline of safety in shark environments is quitting shark consumption entirely. You can also donate to shark conservation and be educated and spread the word that sharks are friends, not food. This is not the lesson we should be teaching. So if we took the time to understand them, we could have a beautiful relationship with one of the oldest and most majestic creatures on Earth. So here's just some links. I put like tiny URLs so they're easy to do. I did a full shark research paper on about 9 different articles, piecing this all together if you want. That's tinyurl.com/sharkpaper. I made an infographic, which is a smaller condensed version of this presentation with more pictures so it's easier to digest. And that's tinyurl.com/sharksci. So here's the shark conservation charity I prefer. It's just sharkstewards.org. You can make a small monthly donation for just like $1 and be able to choose which of their programs you can go into. Some of their programs is teaching students about shark conservation in coastal areas. Some of it's cleaning up the beach and organizing stuff like that. They've got a special island that is a shark natural preserve where you can adopt a shark for $100 and name it, and they'll move it to their conservation island. They're a really wonderful website. So here's a list of other shark conservation charities besides just the one that I prefer the most, which again is Shark Stewards. That's just top 5 shark. And then there's a really nice organization called Shark Angels, which tells you about what shark byproducts to avoid. That's tinyurl/bad buys. A lot of it's kind of sneaky too. Like if you look on cosmetics, there's a certain name for shark byproducts. It doesn't specifically say shark. It's the chemical name that you shouldn't have in your products. So my last topic I'm going to just go over, which was our final sort of guiding question for my zoology project, is how does evolution explain both unity and diversity in species? And I think I see that a lot in sharks, that the unity in how we've evolved and how we've become apex predators, very similar to them. We're smart, we communicate, we're very together kind of creature. And they're also very diverse. This was the first species to have a backbone and see really clearly in the ocean. Like this creature was designed to be a new kind of being that was not able to be stopped, essentially, until we came around. So it's really interesting to see how we clash heads because we're so similar, and also at the same time, they are the kings of the ocean, and we were not meant to be there. So next time you get mad at a shark for attacking, they were there first. So I think that's our second point, is we learn a lot about ourselves and how they behave. And I think it's also a self-reflection, is to be like anything that threatens us, even slightly, when we see that they've got possessive power similar to ours, we're like, man, sharks can kill you, I can kill you better, I'll kill you super dead. Which isn't fun. And I think my favorite points in a lot of the articles I read is there's one where they interviewed some people who had been victims of shark bites, and every single one of them has become an advocate for shark safety and preservation afterwards, because they realized at that point, in the moment they were being bit, their fear of sharks killing them or intentionally or being such these evil creatures was so irrational, when they realized that they were just trying to swim in their way and you're here too, and it's this beautiful coexistence even when somebody gets injured in the process of trying to coexist. So there you go. Thank you for coming. This is my beautiful MS Paint shark.
I love